listeners. This is Maddy Smith.
Hi.
I did find a funny Reddit. Can I read it out?
Yeah.
Okay. I just thought this would be fun with you. Okay. So, can't masturbate to girlfriend. I have trouble masturbating to my girlfriend. Don't get me wrong, she turns me on, but when it comes to masturbating, I just can't do it. When I try to think about her in a sexual way, for myself, I just end up thinking about how beautiful and wholesome she is. I'm still horny, right? Yeah. But thinking about her just makes me want to cuddle her and look into her eyes and kiss. Has or does anyone else have this problem? I can't do it to her. And I'm sure as hell not gonna think about anyone else. It's driving me mad. Every time I'm horny, I just have to push it aside.
Jeez, this is dramatic.
He's being very Catholic guilt here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
You can do anything you want when you jack off.
Yeah, I mean, the time to not think about your partner is when you jack off.
Yes, you get all those out there, and then you get with him, and you're like, oh, hey, what up?
Yeah,
You can do anything you want when you jack off.
This person is also thinking that their person should be their everything sexual, where it's like, masturbating is a time to fantasize.
Yes.
It's time to be like, fantasize about being group sex. You're probably never going to, you might not do that with your partner. Fantasize about Brad Pitt or whoever.
Fucking firefighter, anything.
I don't think about my boyfriend when I masturbate. I literally, this is so funny because he's a joke about him and clouds, but I think sometimes I just think about clouds or swirly things or how it feels nice.
I'm about to go to sleep and this feels good.
Yeah.
Knock one out.
Yeah. Or maybe I'll never probably have sex with women, but it's nice to think about it.
Yeah, it is nice to think about it.
Oh, it's bold, but there's no real.
Yeah.
I'm not really there. Whereas I don't think I would actually feel the chemistry, in a masturbation way, perfect. Or like group sex, or like a sexy assault, not an actual, a consensual assault.
yeah, something like that.
50 Shades of Grey.
Yeah, totally, stuff like that. Or I don't know. Massage or doctor's office or type of shit. There's so many things out there. There's so many things. You know what? There's an app that I use for a little bit called Quinn, where you can listen to so it's it'll be men being like talking to you. It's kind of 6 minutes. Yeah, it's literally stuff like that. And they're like,
Quinn, I love this.
Yeah,
okay,
tell him to download it because there's girls on there and it's not. I don't know.
This was only 5 hours ago. I'm going to message him and be like, please listen 43 minutes in.
Yeah. But also, I think this is a problem with dudes beyond the not being able to masturbate to your girlfriend is seeing their current girlfriend in a non-sexual
wholesome
light. Because I was talking to my friend recently. He's like, when I have sex with, he used to fuck so many girls and get crazy, spanking, choking, blah, blah, blah. And he can't do that with his girlfriend because he sees her in a nicer light. But I think there's room for that if you take your girlfriend off that angelic pedestal.
Also, that's definitely internalized misogyny where you didn't respect the other women, but you respect your partner now. And I think you're so right. He needs to change.
Or you're putting your current partner into a box of wifey material. Wife doesn't get
which is crazy that that's again putting into the thing that women who do all that cool that kinky stuff aren't respectable or wifey material, where it's you need to break that down and go, no, they are also wifey material. Because Wendy Starling was on this old podcast that I did, and she said that how when men would request stuff, it would be usually stuff, and they would say men who cheated on their wives, it was stuff that they felt their wives were too wholesome to do, oh no, she gave birth to my children, I can't eat her arse.
Literally.
And it's no, you need to get out of that headspace. But that is misogyny.
I think a lot of dudes are in that. They want to fuck like crazy and then get a girlfriend who's more wholesome and romantic
and hasn't had a lot of sexual partners, and doing reverse cowgirl is kinky, and it's what do you you can have it all.
Yeah, absolutely.
And most of the time I feel like women won't anything my boyfriend has suggested to do, I would have never wouldn't have ever occurred to me. But when he's brought it up, and the first time he's brought it up, I've been let me think about it. But then after a while, I'm we need to kink this up. So I'm I'm glad that he, and he's also cool, just throwing it out there.
Yeah.
And there are things that it would have been 8 months later, I would have came around to being actually, you know what? Yeah, let's try that. I'm comfortable with you.
Yeah.
But thank God he doesn't put me on some weird. Also, I've had too many sexual partners for anybody who's oh, and I have a sex podcast. And so to be just it's never, and
I could never be with a boyfriend who's I just can't see you doing that.
Yeah, fuck off. And it's like every guy who says, oh, I only want her to have like at least 1 or 2 or 3 partners. It's like they are always the ones that have like hundreds.
I know.
Whereas my boyfriend has a very small percentage of my number.
Yeah, my number.
Where it's like, if we were talking the money, I'd be rich and he'd be very poor.
Yeah.
But he's like, I don't care. He's not threatened. But he's just very secure. And that's the thing with younger men. Younger men they're growing up in a world where women are more equal, whereas guys our age and older, they're still on that, like it's like in between dimensions.
Absolutely.
Whereas younger men are like, oh no, like they also probably had like better sex education where it was with like women. Yeah. They're growing up with women talking about their periods. Fucking like, cause my boyfriend's 27, but his best girlfriend is 24, and his girlfriends would all be younger, whereas mine would be older. Right. And they're all like talking about their period. They're open and
different.
They see them as equal.
There's more like women comedians too. Like there's more like internet talk and stuff like that. We grew up in the 90s when like everyone just hated women. Yeah,
and it's still instilled in them. And like even in Ireland, so like my boyfriend, he like when we were first dating went out and bought me tampons. So because I was in his house, I got my period randomly. He just was like, yeah, I'll go get it, no bother, no embarrassment. That a year before in Ireland, they took a tampon ad off the television because they thought it was too sexual.
Ireland's crazy.
I know. Yeah. It's getting so much better, and it's definitely more progressive than a lot of places in America. And like, loads of things. Is it like abortion? The prime minister, who's now the second prime minister in a row, is gay and biracial. Yeah. So like that's huge for Ireland.
Yeah, totally.
But there's still these old people dictating, like, because it was obviously old people who wrote in and complained about the tampon ad, and the fact that even got taken off. It's like, but that's the way. Do you ever find when something's really progressive, there's always some sneaky bastards trying to take it down?
Always, yeah.
And it's always against women.
I didn't know Ireland had a gay prime minister.
Yeah, he's fun. He's because I'm pretty sure he's biracial. I think his father's Indian and maybe his mother's Irish, maybe the reverse. He's gay, and he recently just became prime minister again. We call it the Taoiseach, but he got caught, like he is in a long-term relationship, but like they could be in an open relationship, and maybe he just never said it. Like he's married. And he got caught recently on like a TikTok video outside the George, which is our like famous gay bar, kissing some random.
I saw some shit on TikTok about that.
Everybody's like, well, but like he's still, he's still prime minister again, and whatever. And it's just a kiss. I'm sure his partner's probably like, thank God someone's kissing him for me tonight.
Literally. Also, like all famous people are just like, fucking and sucking out there.
Yeah, and I feel like
he should be careful though. Just being in public.
I know what an idiot.
I know, that's more so.
But also his partner, I feel like maybe there's stuff that we don't know as a public, because most gay couples that I know are pretty open. Yeah, and they're like, go have fun tonight. Yeah. I don't know a lot that are that closed off to, or they'll go to group sex together. Yeah. Like maybe his partner was in the bar and had already agreed. We just don't know the backstory.
Who knows?
Yeah.
But I've been feeling good. I was in like a weird relationship in 2022 with a guy who was like kind of manipulative.
Okay.
Never did something like that before. Really helps you learn about your attachment style and
definitely
how much you tolerate and how much you dangerously tolerate from someone you think is a good match for you.
No, and especially when you come out of a long-term relationship, I think you're very vulnerable.
Totally.
And men who are like abusive, like emotionally manipulative and stuff like that, or women's too, because I've seen a lot of women do it as well. They target people like when they're at their vulnerable.
Absolutely.
It's like they smell it off you.
Yeah, he targeted me early on and like became targeted, and early on was like, I'm proud of you, like blah blah blah.
I know.
Never met anyone like you. And we had like, like when you get out of a 3-year relationship, there's like no chemistry at the end.
Yeah.
Sparks are gone.
I know.
You're just divvying up your items. You're talking to each other like you're two like professionals booking a doctor's appointment.
Like you're two war veterans.
Literally.
Like, oh, we did that tour.
Yeah, seriously. I'll see you at the meatball dinner. And then you run into some guy and you have insane chemistry and you're like, holy shit, this is what my last relationship. And then you stay with this person because you think, but this is how it is when you have chemistry with someone. It's worth it. And then all of a sudden he's screaming at you And then when you get out of it, you're like, what the fuck?
And you have to be out of it for a while. Like, I was literally just talking to my friend about this, and she was saying that she likes to talk to me about it because she feels other people judge her, but she knows that I've done this a million times. And I did always feel judged when I dated men like that, because people on the outside are like, what are you doing? That's crazy. Yeah. But it's not until you're out of it and like the fog goes away. It's like waking up from being drunk the night before.
Insane.
And you're like, why was I saying that? Why did I dance on the bar?
Why did I? No, seriously. Why did I bend over backwards to make sure this man was like feeling fine and stayed level-headed?
Yeah, no.
His emotions are not my responsibility, especially for a 3 to 4 month relationship.
Yeah, and I truly think when it's extreme chemistry, that's like a red flag. I know that people aren't going to necessarily agree with this, but any relationship that I've had that it's been like chemistry straight away, like love at first sight, sort of like intense sexual, that has all burned up within 3 months and been like the most toxic men I've ever dated. So whereas like, you know, they say like passionate fires, and Leland wasn't like that. Leland was a fucking candle on a birthday cake, okay? And I was like, well, this guy's nice.
And I love birthday cakes.
I know, I was like, I'll give it a chance.
You like talking to him, right?
Yeah, he was so kind and sweet and normal, but it wasn't like passion. I need to talk to him every day. And now we're like nearly 2 years later, and that flame has grown, but in like in a healthy way. Like it's a fire in your fireplace at home. Right. And when he goes away, I'm like, excited to see him when he's back. But it's like the first relationship that hasn't like taken away my independence because I wanted to be around, like I was toxic. I wanted to like, you know, make them feel okay when they were fighting or fix them or.
I'm not fixing anyone. No. I'm not Bob the Builder.
It's really good though that you just did this once, because most people do that like multiple times for years, keep repeating it until they figure it out. So fair play.
Totally. Yeah, 4 months, that's all it took. I just needed a crash course in like every sort of tactic someone could use. So starting with like love bombing to discard to devaluing, screaming, manipulation through social media, like triangulation with other women, like all sorts of stuff, lying, maybe cheating even though we were fucking raw, you know what I mean? Like shit like that. Lying and just fakeness. And then of course like rage. So, and because it was just a crash course. And so now like dating post him, it was like you can sniff out red flags immediately. Yeah. And I'm super cautious now. Yeah.
And nobody wants like that high chemistry you feel. That's like being like on cocaine every day. So it's better to go for like, I just want to be with someone that makes me feel tipsy.
Yeah, no, seriously.
But consistently.
Yeah, consistently. And just like the same person every time I see them.
Yeah. You know what? It's so funny because even like when I was growing up with my mother, and I've been thinking about this so much, how like I had to constantly as a child read her mood.
Oh yeah, mine too. Yeah.
Yeah, every half an hour it could be different, and it was like always eggshells with your words, and always trying to. And now that made me realize that with people, like if they seem in a bad mood, I can read it, but I have to be like, this isn't because of me. This is just they're just having a bad day. So then that skill made me really good for dating toxic men, because I'm always like reading. Okay,
absolutely.
How do I'm used to like someone being a different person 5 times a day.
Oh my god, totally.
Yeah, and it's so weird when you date it. It totally messes. Yeah.
And it's really fun to be like, it's not about you.
Yeah.
Let them have their mood, or it's not a mood, and they're literally just on their phone, and you think that they're over you because you've been with so many people who flip switches so quickly. But you also like can't unload onto them. Yeah. Like I've been with people who just like, I know it's not fair. It's good to talk about every so often. Yeah. But you can't go into a relationship and be like, look.
Yeah. You go in with your defense.
Yeah. You need to give it all because I've been with haters. You just have to like be like, this person deserves the clean slate. Yeah. And that I trust that he's going to be the same person every time I see him.
It's really hard. Yeah. It's like, you being with toxic people makes you toxic. Because then you go into a healthy relationship with like, well, obviously they're going to cheat. Well, obviously they're going to be shitty. Or, you know, and it's like, no, you're putting something on them that they haven't even done. They're a totally different person.
And then if they do, then you say, okay, cool, I still like my life.
Yes.
Not putting all your weight into another person is huge.
How did you break up with the toxic guy?
It was a long time. Like he started kind of like avoiding, like being really bad at not missing calls, like kind of being manic with his communication, which I don't tolerate. And then it came out to a logistics thing, like are we seeing each other or not? And I think one of my friends who actually has anxious attachment, she was like, the way he's communicating to you is not okay. And I was like, oh, okay. Because, I try to play it secure. I try to play it cool. Yeah. And then I was like, so I finally was like, I had to come in like very like level-headed because he can flip a switch. And I was like, hey, I don't want to spark you. I know you're going through a lot, but I feel like you might be avoiding me and I feel like an idiot. So I'm fine with whatever you say, but let me know where we are. And he's like, well, if we're talking about being cared for, I don't feel very cared for myself. Like back in April, like blah, 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 blah. And then it was done after that.
Yeah. Also, back in April, if you're ever going to pull up something like having it in your arsenal, that's a massive red flag. Get out because you can't. You have to have the conversation. It's done. Move on, and you can't be like tallying up to be like, well, actually, in June,
I don't do the list.
You gave me side eye.
I hate that.
And then it's also like I don't remember June.
And then you're also moving forward, wondering if now he's clocking what you're doing all the time, and that's when you're again walking on eggshells.
No, that's great that you cut it off, and also like the playing secure thing. I do feel like sometimes when we're like trying to be chill or cool, and you don't want to seem. And then the toxic person, when you just ask for like your basic, will make you seem like you're crazy. So then you end up being like, that's fine. Don't call me for a month.
No, literally.
I'm chill. And then it's like, no, speak up for yourself. Say what you want.
Yeah, I know. He'd be like, you're doing really good at giving me space. And I'm like,
fuck off. You're doing really good at
stop. And he called me his girlfriend, but then didn't call me, like, wouldn't talk, like, too much.
Was he, do you mind me asking it, was he a comic?
In a different city.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Because it's not just comics, there's obviously, but I do find there is a comics, bartenders, no offense to bartenders, the kind of world where we're like everything's sort of scattered and you don't know. It seems to bring a bit of like I don't know, or maybe guys who get a lot of attention. Anyway, I shouldn't generalize, but I have noticed when I've dated in the bar world is very similar to the comedy world. That kind of maybe we just don't get enough sleep.
Just chaotic, like short-term like thinking as well. I think comics are very short-term. So, and I know a lot of comics are like, see a girl, I love you. And then when it comes to like putting in the work, they don't want to do it. So then they fall off and then they act like, well, I'm depressed.
Yeah, a lot of love bombing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the fact that he said at the start, I'm proud of you, and then he said, you're doing so great at giving me space, there is like a weird parental thing he's doing.
I know. Yeah, it was very like
he's filling in whatever like
I'm under
that you have. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
They do that.
Yeah, it felt very like you do as I say.
Yeah.
It was the same with sex too. Like if I initiated sex, he'd be like, get off me. Yeah.
That's so weird. Yeah. That's like definitely a weird dynamic.
Control.
Because I've definitely dated guys who can sense that I have like maybe like a lack of parenting in my child, and then they come in like that, like I'm so proud of you and you're so great, and like love bomb you. Yeah. But it's all very like on their. Yeah. It's weird. I don't like that.
I don't like that either. Yeah. We should just be like pals hanging around and we fuck and like.
And then they try to like. I remember one guy, he like loved bombed. He would do all that. I'm proud of you. He listened to my Patreon, and then would like. He signed up to it and he was like, I'm not going to listen, but then he would talk about things that I talked about on it. So it's like, okay, you're listening, but whatever. Yeah. And then like things like I was cutting a steak and he was like, oh, you're doing that wrong. And I always felt like he was trying to like take away from my independence a bit. Yeah, I don't like that.
Weird. It's
like
creepy.
Trying to teach me how to cut a steak. Get out of here.
Creepy?
Whereas now, like I went lean and secure and stuff. And the other day he made a steak and it was actually very hard to cut. So I gave it to him and was like, can you cut that up? Yeah. That's a totally different situation because he would never come in and be like, you don't know how to cut steak.
Leland would never.
Yeah.
He's a nice man.
He's so nice. Yeah. He's the nicest.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of between men and women right now.
Yeah.
And I think the girls are talking more. Yeah. Like only the last couple of years, like TikTok has exploded with like stories and.
I just saw a story about a girl talking about a New York City comedian. Did you see that?
I might have. I've seen two lately, but what was it?
I saw two as well.
Okay, we probably saw the same ones. One was about a guy who left the Comedy Cellar early.
No.
Okay, I didn't see that one. So you didn't see that one. The second one was a girl who's like, the Get Ready With Me. Get ready with, like, they all put on makeup.
Yeah.
Like,
I love the Get Ready with Me.
Me too. They put their headband on. They're like, get ready with me while I do a story time. So the one I think you're thinking of is she dated a comedian.
Open relationship.
Oh, no.
So there's more.
Yeah. Okay. And then she found his set?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
That was like, it made me
feel. I wonder who it was.
It made me feel guilty in a bit of a way, but my girl comedian friends have tried to talk me out of feeling guilty just because So for the listeners, this girl dated a guy. They were he was in an open relationship. They dated for 6 months. It ended fine. And then a few months later, she wanted to creep.
Fine, she said.
She was like, it was grand. And a few months later, she wanted to creep as you do, which we've all creeped just to be like, I wonder how their life went.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It's like a little soap.
Yeah.
And so she saw that she was blocked. So she got someone else to check. And he posted a 5-minute stand-up clip, but like talking about her vulva and stuff like that. Or like her vagina.
They said he was too fat and like stuff like that.
Okay, yeah, see, I don't know the extent of it, but my Catholic guilt was like, oh my God, I do talk about a penis on my special. Is that okay? And the girls were like, you're fine. It's fine. This is like different.
I think it's fine. I think to block someone and then
mine's from like years ago. But also for him to do it months after, like keep that in your arsenal for years and don't go into like also men have like shamed women's bodies for forever. Like it's totally different. Like it's like, whereas, I don't know. Well, I feel guilty though. I'll do a joke about like my friend and I'll be like, am I a terrible person? And the friend is like, that's my favorite so
totally.
It's just, but I did kind of be like, oh, you do have to think about what you are putting out there to a certain extent.
Yes.
But for that guy, like as well, he could have just, it must be really bad because he could have asked her or messaged her and been like, hey, because even my exes, all the jokes I've done about them, they knew. I know.
I think it probably was really bad. Especially if they had a totally normal relationship and none of that was ever like.
I wonder, I really want to see it. So listeners, if any of you saw this set, send it to us. But I don't know if she said he's not successful because I was like trying to go through the comments and then I wrote like, oh, I wonder who it is. But then I checked her next page and it was like, hey, people stop asking me who it is. I don't want to do that. I want to give him any traction. Right. So then I went back and deleted my comment.
Hilarious.
I was like, I'm better. I'm a bigger person.
I don't know who it was. It could be anyone. There's so many people.
I know. What was the other one you saw?
Oh, I just saw someone that was like, I was at the Comedy Cellar last night and a comedian did crowd work on a couple and the guy stormed out because she gave like a weird answer and she was like, break up with him. I think the comic was Mike Feeney. The guy getting crowded work on stormed out because I think Mike Feeney said to them, do you want to have kids? And she said like, with the right person, and he stormed out.
Oh, yeah, she should get rid of that guy.
6 months in.
Yeah, that's so insane. That's so controlling.
I know. What is up?
Yeah.
I'm not an angry person. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So for someone, and when I was with that guy and he like screamed at me, I was like, I'm a lady.
I know. Also, it's like, I would be embarrassed to let that much emotion show, you know? Yeah. And it's like, it seems silly too. I don't understand it. But I also grew up where my mother was always shouting and if I stayed calm, it would like, eventually, so I just don't think it's like I've had to be like, this is making like you're not listening, this is making me really mad, but in my head I'm like, oh, I just feel like I'm acting right now.
I know.
Yeah.
To me, like intense impulsive anger is so juvenile.
Yeah. It's just so like it's just a waste and you've already lost the argument then.
I agree.
It's the same as like when men get annoyed. You know when a man shouts and he punches a wall but then
I talk about this all the time.
About the crying, is it?
Not the crying, but the punching of the wall.
Yeah, so like men will like punch a wall, get mad, but then if a woman were to cry in an argument, he's like, oh, that's so manipulative.
Oh, you're crying again.
Yeah, and it's like, well, it's the same thing. Like I'll never like if there's something that makes me like if you want my therapist is like you should cry if you want to cry, but I mean if it's something I'll literally be like, okay, we need to stop because I am getting like, and this isn't, I do want to get, because I feel like I can't get my point across if I get upset. So so it's like the same for a guy, like you're not getting your point across if you're like punching a wall.
I agree. I also think punching a hole in a wall is like can be very like, look what I can do to the wall. Look what I
can do to your face.
Yeah.
That's such a good point. That's like in that show, The Maid, where he wasn't, he never physically abused her, but he would punch by the wall. Yeah. It's so intimidating.
I couldn't finish that show. It was too sad.
Yeah, no, really, it was very
really
triggering, I would say.
It was really dark.
In Ireland, they're doing a lot now where they're trying, I have to follow up on it so the listeners might know more, but basically that emotional abuse is domestic abuse. Yes. Which is great, and I know they're doing it in a couple of states here because emotional abuse is so traumatizing. It's
I don't want to say worse because we don't want to do that, but my sister was in like a terrible marriage, like emotionally abusive, and sometimes her and I are just like, why didn't you just hit me?
Yeah.
At least I know you hate me because when it's like that covert, like weirdo.
Plus, then you have the evidence because what they do is. And I meet I can spot out a manipulative person so quickly. And what they do is like, I know it, like what I would see with my mother and my dad was like, she would say stuff to him, but then repeat the story differently to other people. And it's like, words are so easy to twist and change, but they're also like, can be so nasty and like, oh no, I don't. Whereas if she just, you know, if you punch.
Whack me in the eye.
My mother would like slap at him and stuff and push him and like scratch. She would scratch him too. So there would at least be that. But also he was like a man in the 90s, so I don't think he was able to be like, oh, I'm being bet by my wife. But but like if you are in an abusive relationship with a man, at least if he hits you, you have the evidence. But then again, people who are hit, they cover it up. They say like, oh, I fell down the stairs. Oh yeah,
and we're not trying to be like, that's better. But with my sister and I joke about it sometimes.
Yeah, no,
about
absolutely.
How much it can hurt your brain when you're just like, am I going crazy?
No, absolutely. I had a guy, the listeners know this, but he stealthed me, and this was like 7 years ago, so I didn't really know what it was, and I thought it was my fault for being so drunk.
That's when you I always, stealthing is the condom thing, right?
Yeah, they take the condom off.
See, I always say sheathing, and I don't know why.
Oh, maybe it's sheeting.
No, it's stealthing.
Oh, is it? Okay.
But
he sheeted me.
I use sheathing is what I would say.
Oh, sheeting.
I don't know why.
It is, well, it's shady, so it's all.
Yeah.
But yeah, and like that's like a huge thing, putting your health at risk. You get pregnant, and it's like so like
huge.
It's so like invasive and gross. But anyway, like years later when I like found out about it, and then I had like this that I was like, oh wait, that guy like was being abusive. That's so shitty. Yeah. But I also was like, I know it's awful, but I just wish he had like hit me in the face because that would be easier to explain to men. Because men are like right now, if I were like, oh, you shouldn't be friends with that guy, he like hit me in the face, they'd be like, fuck that guy. But I'm like, yeah, he took the condom off without my permission. They're like, well, maybe he didn't know at the time. And then it's like, okay, whatever. I wish he had just like given me a black eye. And again, for anyone who's gotten that, like, I'm not trying to be. I wouldn't never wish that, but it would be easier. Just something about like sex or like emotional abuse. It's hard to explain
to dudes because we've gone through it so much, and I think only lately has there been like shows about it. Like Thank The God. Maid. Then there was that show on Hulu, Tell Me Lies.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Kind of like about a manipulative dude that messes up a bunch of girls' lives. Yeah. And it was like very like textbook, like narcissist, ruining lives. So I think more of that stuff and the more people start talking, then it'll come out. And the more we realize like, oh, that was like manipulation.
There's also a lot of shaming because when I would talk about all the guys that I've dated, and yes, I was definitely attracted to crazier guys, but that was my role. Like I grew up calming someone who would like fly off the handle, so it's like, okay, I know how to do that with men. But then when I would talk about like people would be kind of like, why, like how come you keep ending up, or like why are you letting this?
I know.
So it's like you kind of get a little victim blame.
Yeah, I know, seriously. I don't even talk, I like barely talk about all this stuff just because it's too hard to explain.
Oh wait, did I ask you this? How did you get out of it? You said that. So afterwards, did he ever follow up and try? Yeah, that's the hard part.
So when we initially talked, he was just like, I just need time for myself. This whole relationship you've been running, I need time for myself. And when he said that, I was like, okay, we're done. Like I have like a personal policy that if someone asks for space or a break, not like space, like can I have like a couple nights to myself? Like literally, like I need time off. Like I'm like, okay, we're done. Like there's no. It's also a bit. It again is a cop out. It falls into a bit of the like emotionally abusive in the regard that it's like, okay, I want to be in control. Yes. I'm gonna put you on the back breaker so that you want me, and it's all just that's games. What it came down to. It's like, fuck I need space. I need time to think. Yeah, instead of being like, hey, let's talk about what's going on, or actually, I want to talk about what's going on. I really value you. I think I need a few days to process it. Yeah, and then it's like, oh, okay, you process, but I know we're gonna come back and talk about it. Right. But when it's like, I need, we're on a break. It's a real huge power move, and so he said that, and then I never called him again. I think he thought I was gonna like reach out and be like, what are we? 3 weeks later, he texted me that was like, hope you've been well. Like, I've been oscillating between giving you space and like as if like I was the one who. Like they just twisted. I know they twisted like to make again. He's in control. I was giving you space, even though I was the one who never called him. And he said, if you want to talk about things. And I sat on it for a day, and I texted him back. I said, I can talk today if you want. He never responded. Yeah. Oh, so he literally just wanted to have the power. Yeah. It's all power. Yeah. It's really sad. Yeah. I'd hate to be like that. Me too. Where you have to like manipulate people to be with you, or manipulate them into wanting to have a conversation so you can feel like you walked away. Yeah. Like it's so insecure. It's so gross. So insecure. Like, just do the fucking work. Go to therapy. I know. Go read a book. Read attachment. Like and just be alone. Yes. Why do you need that? Totally. Watch a good show. Totally. Get your I can't like think of how tired I would be if I spent my whole life just like trapping people in. And it's not just with like, so obviously we're both talking about dating men. It's not just
dating. It's friendships as well.
Friendships.
Like I've had a couple of friendships that I didn't realize, because you don't expect it with friendships, where I'm like, oh, you're like manipulating me and gaslighting me now.
Totally.
Oh, Jesus.
It's weird, isn't it?
I had a situation where someone was like, you know, kind of did something, and then instead of being like, let's talk about it, I'm like, I'm so sorry, was like, I can feel that you're being cold if you want to talk about it, but here's all the reasons why you shouldn't be mad.
Oh, okay.
And like, you know, was like, I won't get into detail. I don't even think that they will ever listen to this, but just to be safe. But like, I was like, it was like a whole essay of all the reasons why I would be not entitled to be mad, because it could be like bringing up external. Maybe you're really mad about this. Maybe you're really mad about that. And it's like, I can't even, and even the start of it was like, I'm not going to gaslight, but then just went on. And it's like, I can't even, there's no space for me to even say why I would be. Because it's like, everybody's going to get mad and everybody's going to feel, and like, I like people in my circle who are like, I've friends where I could be like, oh, yeah, that's kind of annoying that you're something, whatever. And they'll go, oh my God, yes. So I'm so sorry I didn't. And then I'm like, oh, you know, like where you can be like, where they're not feeling like you're criticized. You can have like a proper like, how to, like, you can say like, oh, this is kind of annoying, and they can go, oh my God, and vice versa, because I would want to know. I would like if I fucked up, or a chance to explain myself,
but if you don't give me that, then it's like, okay,
I'm not gonna gaslight them and go, no, actually I wasn't being,
I know,
blah blah blah, because you're obviously projecting your childhood.
I know,
but you know, whatever.
It's so messy. I don't have I've had like the same friends now for 6 years, like the same close friends. Yeah. Maybe a couple new ones. Yeah. But definitely shed a lot of skin in my 20s. Yeah. No, I think that's important to keep your group small, your close friends small. Yeah. And any friends, it's like any friends that come in hard and fast and like kind of, I've only really experienced this in America, which is funny, but I've had a few people come in quickly and a lot of like friend bomb loving, and then it's like a thing too. Yeah, and then it's like, oh, it's not real. So I try to like keep a bit of an arm's length and be like, okay, let's see, because it takes time. Like even with relationships, it's like it should take time to get to know the person. Wanting everything so quick and instant. We're all just looking for instant noodles in our relationships. We are. And there's something to be said for
a 20-minute pasta boil.
Literally. Al dente, bitch. There is something to be said for like, I'm very much like, if I'm forming a new relationship with someone, like a romantic, I'm like, pretend he's just your friend. Yeah. For now. Would you hang out with a new friend every day? Yeah. And text them nonstop? Or would you say, are you free Thursday? Yeah. Let's get together again. And then as the weeks go on or the months go on, you're like, oh, yeah. You know what I mean? But
also, you don't want to run out of everything to say.
I know. Is that the worst when you're a new thing and you have nothing to say? You're like, oh, shit.
Yeah, because you talked about it all day over voice messages.
No, I know.
It's the worst.
I'm like a limited texter.
Yeah. No, I think it's the healthiest way to be. I saw a TikTok where the girl was like, gonna see how long it takes to text me back, and she would like make a video every hour, and then by 24 hours she was like, I'm done with him, and everybody was like, yes girl, and I was like, this is toxic as hell. Because like, yeah, if you text him on Monday and you're like, you know, like, okay, we're, you know, see you Thursday, and he's like, cool, see you Thursday, he doesn't have to text, or you don't have to text until Thursday. That's fine.
I actually agree with that. Yeah. Maybe Wednesday, just to confirm.
Yes, see you tomorrow, looking forward to it.
But they all, like, not everyone is perfect. Not everyone's going to be exactly...
And chit-chatty over text messages as well. It's like, and that gives anxiety too, because you're like, I'd rather just wait till I see you.
I know. I like a little here and there. Yeah. A couple jokes back and forth.
Yeah. A meme.
A little meme.
Meme is perfect.
A little, like, Instagram message, just like, this reminds me of you. Little stuff. Yeah. And then you hold all your little experiences in until you see them, and then you have gab over dinner.
It's perfect. Yes. I think less is more. I think for everybody listening, go with the little fires. Take your time. That's so true with the friend thing, because I would say Tori Piskin is like my long-term best friend. And it's always funny when you say best friend in your 30s.
I know it is. Yeah. She's my bestie.
Yeah. We have matching unicorns. But she'd be my long-term friend, and that's something I've said to her, which is something I wouldn't even have thought of it until it was like her situations like in the past where it's like, yeah, but or even she said to me, now that I'm thinking about it, but one of us said something about how you have to remember that we know each other so long, so of course we like know the right thing to say, but it's like 7.5 years of friendship that when you're dating someone 2 months in, they say the wrong thing. It's like, they don't know you yet. They don't, you haven't built up to that banter or even with Leland, like he wasn't great banter at the start. And that was something that I was like, oh, I always have great banter and I always connect. But then it's like, oh, he just takes a while to open up.
Yeah, it takes a second.
Yeah, he's like a regular person who's like, just like, oh yeah, I just don't know you that well yet to be banter.
Right. And then when you do, it's like awesome.
We have the best banter now.
Same with my ex who I dated for 3 years. It was like kind of like stiff at the beginning, and then we really got to know each other and we were doing like voices and funny characters like all over the place. And it just takes a second.
And he's very nice guy vibes too.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's very like, he's a bit of geeky.
Yes.
Leland's a bit geeky too.
I like a geeky.
Yeah.
I like when they have little activities. I like when they have hobbies,
They play Catan.
Like,
get yourself a Dungeons and Dragons guy, girls.
Literally, I like a video games kind of guy. Yes. Like not like full like all day, but like pop on with your friends. I like that.
Yeah.
I think it's fun. I think anything that's just like any activity that moves their brain. That's not just
women.
Yeah,
like
totally.
jockey type of.
That's like a huge turn on for me is if they can like play little games and activities and hobbies. And
it also
like
makes
that.
it like you said when you were talking about your long-term relationship where the chemistry goes, and that's going to happen with everybody.
Yeah.
And it's the same where you're going to like not always have things to talk about because you live together, you're together all the time. A guy will be like, let's play video games or video games or board games like where you could do activities together or even if you're an active person, find someone who's active that you can go on runs with.
Yes, absolutely.
Because don't just leave it just to talking because I run out of things to talk with people all the time.
You're going to run out.
Even your best friend. I only talk to my best friend, like we do a phone call once a month.
I know.
And that's my best friend.
I know. I get dinner with Stuart and 40 minutes in, I'm like... And you're like, shit, I haven't seen you in so long and now we have nothing.
Also, when you're healthy, you have less things to talk about.
I know.
Yeah. And when I stopped dating crazy guys, I was like, shit, I have nothing to talk to my friends about anymore.
Literally. People like I always told people like after I got out of this crazy cuckoo bananas thing, I was like, I want a man who is my boyfriend, but I also want to like forget. I want people to be like, how's your boyfriend? I'm like, oh yeah, I think he's good. Yeah. He's home tonight. Like very like it's a part of my life, but it's not the part of my life.
Exactly.
It's also a wonderful part of my life.
That's exactly how I feel.
Yeah.
Like when I was talking to my friend, she's talking about like recently I was trying to give her advice and I was like, you don't need to, but like my advice would be to write down the personality elements, like not the looks or what you usually attract to, like what you really need for long term. And I was like Leland's not perfect in any way. He's and he doesn't fulfill everything that I need because if it's too much to expect someone to fulfill. I'm out here now with you drinking on a Saturday night. He's not like, where are you? I don't need to run home to him. Right. And I'm getting my bit of this extra banter from you, whereas if I expect that but then I felt like a little guilty for saying that, but I was like, also I think that's important for people to know your partner's never going to be perfect. Then I went home and he didn't wake up and I was like, oh my god, is he dead? And I was like, wake up, but he was like, oh. So and I was like, I would be devastated if he died, but he's also not my everything.
Right.
They should never be your everything.
No, I don't
then you
think
wouldn't
so.
have friends. Then you wouldn't
have
have you wouldn't go off and do your own thing, like whatever your own thing is.
I'm dating a young guy too, so.
How much younger is yours?
20s.
Mine's 27.
Okay, yeah.
How old are you? You're the same age as me.
31.
Oh, I'm older. 32.
Yeah, whatever. I don't know if we're dating. I think we're dating. It's pretty secure.
How long has it been?
A few months, like.
Yeah, you're dating.
Consistently, and.
That's dating.
We do the whole. We're watching a show together right now.
Yeah,
I think that's how you know.
Definitely dating.
Yeah, we're like waiting for each other to watch a show.
If they'll get mad at you for watching an episode without them, that's dating.
Right. Or if you say like, we should watch that together, or we should, blah blah blah, blah blah.
There's
blah.
a we.
Yeah. So I'm feeling pretty secure.
That's good. Wait, how much younger is he than you?
Let's just say he's a little bit younger than me.
Younger than 27?
But I think that's okay. Yes.
Younger than 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's good because they're not what's that word, like bitter.
I know, but I feel like, you know how like when men date younger women, they're like, they're just fun, and you know, like she's like mature for her age.
Yeah.
Now I'm saying
I've said that all about my boyfriend
I'm
too.
saying that too.
And I live with my boyfriend there, so it's fine.
I know, but I feel like it's different for women dating younger dudes
than men dating.
Yeah. And also, if this is different, it's different than like men dating hot 21-year-olds. You know what I mean?
You're like, my boyfriend's not hot at all.
I mean, he's a cutie.
Same.
And but you just have to get that like narrative out of your head, because when we talk about like older men with younger women, we're talking about young bitches with like and creepy older men.
Yeah, this guy isn't like a surfer with like washboard abs, as they say.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a...
Yeah, no, we just like to laugh together.
Yeah. Well, and plus when older men date younger women, it's usually because it's a younger woman who won't speak up for herself, or like he can kind of do what he wants.
Right.
Where this is,
yeah, totally.
Saying fun like, oh, we laugh is different to, oh, she's fun, she won't question me and ask where I've been out for a night.
Yeah, totally. No, if a motherfucker questions me, I say, bring it on, bitch.
Yeah.
I got my evidence ready to go. And my ex was a lawyer. Remember that guy I dated 3 years, the comedian?
He was a
lawyer. So I got really good at arguing.
Oh yeah. That's so funny, because my dad he's a guard, but he was a public prosecutor as well, and I think I'm really good at arguing because of it, because he's really good at arguing. But then that's bad in relationships, because you're like,
I think there's something to be said for like being good at arguing rationally, and not pulling irrational things, and also like not picking fights, because you don't need to. I think before, okay, so my ex was like 7 years older, and that matured me in a way that you're like, you can't pick. I used to like nitpick like little fights. Why weren't you talking to me that much tonight? Like stupid shit like that. And I feel like since when I got out, so I dated him for 3 years, and after that I feel more mature.
Yeah, well, I think you also just get older, and you're just like, I'm glad you didn't talk to me tonight.
I know, literally.
Yeah, you just kind of get, this is too much energy.
Too much energy.
You're tired.
And you got to save your anger for when they actually fuck up.
Yeah, but I do think when you're able to argue, which is good, but also like that lawyer mentality of arguing, you're like, here are the facts. Here's what you did wrong, and I didn't appreciate that. So it is a good way. But if someone's not used to that, they're like, well, you've already won. Like, do you know what I mean?
know.
I've had to teach my boyfriend to be like, I got in trouble with Chris Scopa for saying teach, but I mean, we taught each other. I feel like, but you know how that if I'm like laying it out like that, that's just me trying to be rational. It's not me trying to be like, you're condemned, and then he's have to be like, okay, I see the facts.
And
totally. Let me think about it and come back to you. So.
I'm not here to condemn people.
Yeah.
I'm here to like say something just so we don't get any patterns.
Yeah. It is annoying, because it's like, as a woman, if you shout or get mad, like I'll never shout. I'll be like, hey, this is annoying me. Can you not do this? And then I'll say it a couple of times. And I've had partners in the past, then when I break up with them, be like, well, why didn't you? And I was like, I said it multiple times. And they're like, yeah, but you didn't shout. And it's like, it's not my job to shout, but B, also if I did, you'd be like this crazy bitch. So we've been trained to be like, here we go, here's the information calmly. But then it is really frustrating. Like, even my boyfriend's great now, but like I said to him, can you stop leaving stuff on the floor, like nails and stuff like that, because we have a small cat. And then after like the third nail on the floor, like I stood it in my foot and I sent him a photo, and I was like, I can't keep saying this now, there is blood. And you're like trying not to, but it's like, I've said this multiple times, now I'm getting mad.
Totally. And that's okay.
Yeah.
That's just relationships. There's way worse things than leaving shit on the floor.
And I do think men are, I'm going to get in trouble for this, but
And when you live together, it's like a totally different ballgame.
Exactly. But I do think men are trained or whatever. There's something different in their wires where they do say yes. Because they're like, yes. And just like, I don't want to get yes.
Of course.
But I don't think they take it in as much. So then when you're like, I've said this 17 times, they're like, what? And I was like, you got to stop yesing me.
I know.
You got to just.
I know.
I'd rather you say, no, I'm not going to do that. And then I'm like, okay.
Yeah. I know. They have different brains than we do.
Definitely.
It's very interesting. And you just have to remember that. I really don't think men and women are really compatible at the end of the day.
Yeah, I know.
We're like trying to force shit. And everyone I know in a relationship is like really unhappy, or they can't like read each other. And, I don't know. It's getting weird out there.
I think what you said about how when you get to the point where you're not nitpicking, that's when you're compatible. As in, that's when you're like ready for a relationship, because you're like, because like me and my boyfriend are only great now because I'm able to go, oh, that was annoying, but I think I'm being irritated because I'm tired.
Yeah, you
or
can,
because
like,
my friend pissed me off and I can't take it out on her, so I'll take it out on him, you know?
Yeah, or you're like, social settings overstimulate me.
Yeah.
And this is new to me, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Let's not fucking pile drive into them.
Yeah.
Like thinking about why you're feeling like that. before you fucking go blazing glory on him.
Have the conversation in your head. I love that.
Me
too.
A
little talk.
It's so fun. Isn't it so fun? Because I used to be so impulsive.
Yeah, same.
And especially like with comedy, there's so much social interactions. I'd walk into a comedy club negative, like overstimulated, blah, blah, blah. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, you're feeling a little tired. Just get your Diet Coke and say hi to everyone and go to the green room and without like acting on every thought that comes through your head.
Yeah, and just going home when you need to go home.
Oh, that too.
When I was younger, I'd have so much FOMO. I'd stay out all night. I'd go to everything. And now I'm like, I don't need, it's so nice. Oh, getting old is great.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
I feel very, I've come into myself.
Yeah.
And everything feels more fun.
Yeah, no, same. It's so true. I feel exactly like that while also simultaneously being like, oh, my hair isn't as bouncy. I'm seeing this line, but also that's okay. I'll take this line under my eye for this peace of mind.
I'll take a line for a peace of mind. And I have gray hair.
It's like we're saying Coke.
I know, literally. I have like gray hair and I'm like, I can't care.
Yeah.
I can't, like, I'm feeling good.
Are we making a song right now?
I think
Lines
so.
for peace of mind. I have gray hair. I don't care.
Do another line and make me feel good. I don't know. I also think like when you be kind of like with our careers, they're kind of like cemented now. I'm feeling like good coming up in the fucking open mic scene or the early show scene or early at clubs. It's too much change. It's too much uncertainty.
It's also like a form of abuse. When people are like, when people message me and they're like, oh, I really want to start comedy. I don't want to say this, but my automatic answer is like, don't. I will never say that. But I'm like, how we did that isn't, because it's years of constant giving up everything else. Oh, I can't even. I'm glad I did it, but I'm glad I'm on the other end of it.
I'm glad I'm on the other end, and if I had to start now, I wouldn't be able to do it. Yeah. Same with like living in New York City. If I just start now, like how I did, I wouldn't be able to. Because when I started, I was like 24 and I was like, oh, this is fun. Yeah. I love paying money to go on stage. I love like opening for people for free, like all sorts or doing club check spots, like all sorts of that bullshit.
Yeah, it was a real cut yourself type of metaphorically, like living off the pain.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. Living off like good little sets, like a great set would keep you moving forward, and now it's like I need money.
It's also like my dad has the same where he says like there's a want in someone, you know, like if I were dating a like psycho guy, he'd be like, oh, there's a want in you. Yeah. And I feel like when you do comedy, you have to have that want because like you're a little broken. You need this. You need to prove yourself. And then now where we've been to therapy and we're more emotionally mature, I would just have a regular job and like have a family.
Dude.
If I were starting comedy now, I'd be like, no, that's mental.
Nursing school.
Yeah.
Nursing school, and I would like be the funniest in the friend group. Yeah. And I would like immerse myself in activities, find a nice husband who's
box or something,
dance classes, like dance, like farmers markets, like 3-bedroom home. Husband works in construction, some shit like that.
Yeah, done. Series in the evening.
Ozark.
Watch a soap. Seems like a nice life.
I know.
People looking at us like, oh, they're living their dream. And I'm like, nah, you're living the dream.
No, we're trapped.
Yeah.
We're trapped. We've set ourselves up. We can't get an office job because everything we've said.
Don't know how to do an Excel.
Don't know how to do Excel.
I am literally qualified for nothing other than comedy and art. I have an art degree.
Right.
But that's worse.
Yeah. And I have like 2 eggs left.
Yeah.
I can't even be a mom. Yeah. So we're stuck. So might as well just run it, you know?
Yeah.
Speaking of backstory, I have a question for you.
Oh, yeah.
With your current boyfriend, have you told him about the crazy people you've dated?
Oh,
and what sort of stuff they've really?
Yeah, yeah.
What did he say?
He was fine. I feel like I did have to, I probably did what you said up top is like, you know, usually you shouldn't do. But
yeah.
I definitely think I went in like, you know, I'm like not really trusting and this has been my experience. But I didn't like, not straight away because I didn't want to seem like I'm bitching about exes.
Yeah.
Because you're also like,
I know.
This is going to make me look bad. That I
know. If you unload on him. Yeah.
So just a little bit, but I did at one point had to explain it because he was like, you know, I'll make these jokes like when he would go on work holidays, like don't cheat on me or whatever. And he was like, that makes me feel really uncomfortable. I'm never going to cheat. And you're like, where is this coming from? And I was just like, I just don't trust you. And he was like, that's like, I'm really offended by that. And I was like, it's not you. It's just any guy that I've it been with 3 to 4 months, it's usually they've cheated, they've done all this stuff, they've lied to me.
Yeah.
They've made me be exclusive, asked me to be a girlfriend, and then I found out all this like crazy stuff or whatever. But my point is, like I said to him, I was like, so it's just going to take me a while to make sure you are being who you say you are. And yeah. And now look at us 2 years later. But yeah, it was a little like, it was like great at the start, but it was also touch and go because I think I just, but I definitely did be like this is my experiences. And
Yeah, I think because the person I dated, I told him in 2022, I told him early. Yeah. And then I got burned because I told him like a past like situationships where someone like ghosted me or whatever. And then he like used that. So I'm cautious about.
Well, I also think when they use it against you, you're like, well, thank you. I've just given you've given them because I dated this. I say in my stand up that he's Russian, but he's really Slovakian. Mm-hmm. I dated this guy for 4 months, and it was really intense. We said I love you pretty quickly, and there was loads of red flags at the start. But anyway, I told him about how my mother was clearly mentally unwell, and so trigger word for me would be if a guy says you're crazy, and I feel like men say women are crazy all the time to. Yeah. But then he did use that against me. You know, he was like, oh, you're being like because I found herpes medication and I wanted to ask him about him, have a proper conversation. He was like, well, you're just being crazy. And it's like, oh, I'm not, instead of, But so I was like, oh, okay, great. I gave you the red button, you pushed it. Whereas Leland has never called me crazy. Yeah. And there'd be no reason to, but I feel like toxic people will use your insecurities against and giving someone like this is the thing that upsets me, this thing that hurts me, and if they never use it against you, it's like, oh, now I know you're.
It's like the rudest thing someone can do.
Yeah. It's so toxic. Yeah. So I think it's fine, and I think with your partner when you're like saying it like, oh, like this is what I went through, and I've learned a lot from it, and then it's I think it's fine. Yeah. It's more if you're just like non-stop talking about your ex and they did this.
Oh yeah.
And you're like clearly like still traumatized from it.
Yeah. Totally.
Then they're like, oh God.
I know. Or if a guy does that too, you're like,
yeah, because if they're like, oh, who's texting you? And you're like, oh, it's just my friend. They're like, okay, because when John would text, it was really that whore. And you're like,
is that shit. Talking about it and being like, blah, 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 blah. But like, projecting it onto their
yeah. And I probably did a little projection as well. Like it's funny, like when you go through therapy and stuff, you're like, oh, okay, I probably was already catastrophizing.
Right.
I always think that now. I'm like, don't catastrophize.
I catastrophize like a motherfucker.
Yeah, no, that's so true. What was the other thing I did? Oh, with Leland as well, like because he is a best girlfriend, and their relationship made me so uncomfortable because they would like, she would like get in between his legs to tell him something, or like kind of like. He told me like she'd like sit up on top of him and stuff, and I was like so uncomfortable.
Yeah,
but I did
say something.
Yeah, I did, and
it's an awkward convo.
Yeah, and it really like turned into it ended up like because it was going on for months, and it ended up and I felt like she was a priority over me.
Oh yeah, I hate that feeling.
Yeah, and then you're also like I don't want to be like some jealous bitch either. Right. So you're trying to be like. You're trying to like have that conversation in your head. Is this like legitimate? Right. But also I'm not doing like Brendan Sagalow is like one of my closest guy friends, and I would never sit on him. I would never. But after having the conversation with him and eventually with her, and in fairness, we all like it all worked out in the end, and I always want to make sure that they're still really close. Yeah. But yeah, it was one of those things where it's like so hard to navigate because. What is right? Like, is that okay? Is that like a young people thing where they're just so much more closer? I
don't know. I don't have any guy friends, so
I'm very much. I like to keep the boundary very. I want them to see my guy friends never to see me as anything sexual.
Yeah. So I got into that this year when I'd be at a comedy club like getting blackout, and then it's like touchy feely, and then I had to be like, okay, I'm not gonna hang out drinking anymore. You know what I mean? Like stuff like that. You have to set it. Yeah.
Because Eagle Wit has that really fun joke where he says it's not that guys are always trying to be friends with girls to fuck them. They'll be friends with them, but they wouldn't say no if they got the chance. Yeah. And so that's a funny.
I know it's in your control, kind of.
Yeah, but so with that was something that was like, I was always like, am I projecting insecurities?
I know.
Or am I legit? And in the end, I'm glad the way it worked out because they are still very close, and it was more of a like, just while I'm around, I can't handle it. But now that we're together so long, I'm like. Yeah, and they're still close, but it's not. In fairness to both of them, they're not like, like breaking that kind of little boundary or whatever. But and I guess it depends on person to person because maybe other women will be like, I don't give a fuck.
Right.
It's all like what you're comfortable with. But I think that is you're kind of always going, is this something that I'm just insecure about from before, or is this
so
legitimate?
much unraveling you have to do on your own.
Yeah, and then you're kind of like what you said before, where you're like, should I just play it cool, or is it okay to ask for this?
Yeah, you gaslight yourself.
Yeah. No, it's definitely. But so I guess it is good to say, what you've been through, because then they kind of know where you're coming from with it. Because I'm trying to think, there was something Leland did that I was like, oh yeah, like I always worried about him, and I'll be like, like, oh, like don't stand on the yellow line, you're gonna get ran over by the train.
Yeah.
And then that really was pissing him off, because he's been like a little infantilized. Like his parents is the only son, so they love him so much, so they'll like take care of him so much. And so he likes to be seen as a man. But when we had those conversations, it was like, oh, he's getting so mad because he's coming with this baggage. And I worry so much because I came from a household where my mother was like, if you leave the fridge open, the house is going to go on fire. So if we didn't tell each other our baggage, we wouldn't have been able to understand why we were getting so defensive.
Yeah, and it would have just been him being like, shut up.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, and same with him, and like knowing that people have cheated on me, it's like, okay, I got to make sure I reassure her.
Yeah.
Whereas now I have like, honestly, I can't even believe I even thought the first 3 months that Leland would.
You never know.
He's like a goof.
It's high alert time.
Yeah, it's high alert time.
Yeah.
I think you're never secure until like after 4 months. That's when you start getting comfortable.
Yeah. That's when like all these stops. Like, okay, so the first couple months you pull out the charm and the best behavior and dressing up, and then it starts to wear off, and then you both are still there. And then if you're both still there, you're like, oh, okay, all right, sounds good to me.
I love this. Okay, I think you have to go, so we have 3 minutes left.
Okay.
Tell everybody your social media, even though they already know.
So Maddy Smith is all my handle on everything.
Yeah.
And I'm also always touring. So
are you going to Ireland soon?
Not going to Ireland, but
you should go to Ireland.
That's where a lot of listeners are, right?
Yeah.
I know I'm going.
Or they're Irish in America.
But if you're Irish in America, MaddySmithComedy.com. I want to make it to Ireland.
I had a great time.
Yeah, I want to go.
The shows are great.
I'm going to be in Amsterdam in January at the end of this month.
That's so exciting.
With, I'm not supposed to say, but Bert Kreischer.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah. So that's my first Europe show.
That's so great.
And then otherwise just like DC, Austin, Texas, blah, blah, blah. So check out my website.
And what's your podcast? Is it still?
Yeah, That Time of the Week.
That Time of the Week.
Check it out. YouTube, all the podcast platforms.
Amazing.
Yes.
Okay, I think we'll round this up. And for the listeners, I'm in a studio now. So they're going to start putting these on YouTube, which is really cool. And then it'll always be up a week earlier on Patreon. So still sign up to Patreon. And full episode will be on Patreon. And I'll just put out a good chunk of this on YouTube. Maybe we'll leave the little end for the Patreon or something. I got to figure it out. Shout out to Pat Shima. And okay, love you all. I feel like that's all I have to rate, review, because because now I'm spending money on it. So tell everybody.
Rate, review, because we have money involved.
Yeah. This is like going to college now. You pay to go to college.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, love you. Bye.
Bye.